You're too far away from me.
Am I?
Yeah. Get closer.
There we go.
Look at me. I am wearing the same fleece. This fleece that I'm wearing here, this kind of burgundy colored one, it is the one that is in the thumbnail on Spotify for this podcast.
Oh, really? From the original.
The original thumbnail. Yeah. Wow. I keep my clothes when I get something I like. That reminds me. I keep my clothes a long time. Here, let me illustrate. I did a show with Cody last year, and I wore this black dress with this white piping on the trim.
I think I know the one, yeah.
Yeah. I've had that dress for at least 20 years.
Wow.
And Ingrid texted me because she saw a photo of me singing on Facebook. And
really?
She's like, it's like, I think I have the exact same dress. And she sent me a photo of her dress, and it's the exact same dress. I guess we both really hold on to our clothes.
That's pretty amazing.
Pretty proud of that. Anyway,
yeah.
The reason I'm wearing this is because I'm basically wearing pajamas today because it is post showcase.
Right. We had the big showcase on Sunday.
And I am tired today. I came home. We came home from that, driving through some pretty heavy slush to get home. And I just curled up on the couch, put my head in the pillows, and fell asleep. I tried to read for a little bit to chill out, but even words coming into my brain through my eyes were just too much stimulation. I was done.
It's funny to think about in some ways, how much of it, you've got a social battery.
Yeah.
That can just run down.
Yeah.
I mean, you didn't even want to talk to me that much after a certain point.
No, I could. My brain just fills up, and I literally can't take it in anymore.
Yeah.
I only have so much social energy. That's definitely true.
Yeah, I mean, it's not negative. You're just when you're full up, you're done.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what a night, though. Gosh, we should dive into that. Actually, I mean, the showcase was unbelievable.
It really was. I think it was. In certain ways, it was our best ever.
Certain ways, it was the best ever. As you've said, it was the most, almost certainly the highest attended.
Yeah.
Especially,
sure it was.
For sure, of a ticketed one, because there were the Hard Rock cafes and stuff, and those weren't ticketed.
Right.
So we didn't get a number. But, of ones where we wound up with a door count. Mm-hmm. Little, industry word for you there. It was, what did it end up?
121 tickets.
That is...
I think our best before was in the high 80s.
Yeah.
I think it's due to the bands.
Right.
The new bands that we have going
So this was the launch of the first time for these newer adult bands. Mm-hmm. It was their first show. So we had two of the new adult bands coached by we love him so much, Nate. And we were just talking about how well both of those bands did.
Yeah.
They really killed it.
Yeah, and I mean, there's something special to say about every single member of each band.
For sure.
Plus every single singer who went up on stage. But of course, we don't have time for that. But I will tell you, one of my highlights was the moment Ramara got up on stage and started singing. The moment she started singing. Mm-hmm. Because she has taken lessons with me since she was in, I think, her early to mid 20s.
Right.
And she is 34 or something now.
Yeah.
And she dropped off during COVID.
Sure.
Because she's in the health industry. But she has just been, talking about her dreams and, kind of just getting in her own way, not doing it, just not showing up. I mean, she's kind of showing up to lessons sometimes, but not always to the thing that scares her. And she got up and did the thing that scares her. And I just jumped up out of my chair and I ran over to Nate and I was like, oh my God, Ramara's singing. And we high-fived. Just
she was the lead singer.
Yeah.
I mean,
one of them.
In that band, at least she at least really took that lead role.
Yeah,
she didn't necessarily sing lead on every song.
Right.
But she was definitely leading the show for that band.
Yeah.
And I would have thought she was very experienced. It did not seem...
Yeah. She did not look nervous.
She really did not.
Nobody did.
No, really nobody
Honestly.
did. And you got to shout out Kevin Corrigan, who was in two of the bands. He is in Brit and the Boys, which is a performance high band coached by Joe Mondragon, friend of the pod. And they've been together for 5 years, 4 years,
Coming
something.
on 5 because it was pre-pandemic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they, of course, killed. They did almost all original stuff. I was really impressed.
Yeah.
They've got a lot of original tunes. But Kevin has joined Brit and the Boys as a permanent guitar player, but he was also in one of the startup bands. So he had a very busy night.
Yeah. And he plays some drums too, which he had been interested in doing.
That's right. He did play drums. Yeah.
It was so cool how many different people we had playing drums and all the other instruments too. But like drums is a hard one.
Well, that was a fun thing. Yeah. People were swapping around, playing bass, sometimes playing.
Yeah.
You
I
know.
think we had 5 different people play drums in just 2 bands.
Right.
Yeah. Makes me want to play drums.
Yeah. And everybody was really great.
Yeah.
You know, it just was it was a great show. No train wrecks.
No.
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
And gosh, before we go any further, I want to talk about how cool that venue is. You have played there before, so we've talked about it on the pod. It's the Roots Music Project.
They are a nonprofit.
Nonprofit in Boulder.
Yeah.
What a cool looking and feeling room.
Yeah.
And then the staff is unbelievable.
They're so nice. They were professional and pleasant and organized and pleasant to work with from start to finish.
Yeah.
And they loved us. Like our crowd is respectful and enthusiastic and tips well and
It's just nice people. And
But the venue has these cool lights hung up from the ceiling that makes it all vibey, and they have a nice spacious stage. They have an enormous green room / rehearsal room where everybody could hang out. That was a big plus.
Several.
There was a lot of socializing going on back there, so that was great.
I think that contributed to how much fun everybody had.
Yeah.
Like we've talked about before, how fun the backstage hang is.
Yes.
Like the backstage hang is part of what's so fun, and for all of the performers to get to participate to whatever degree they wanted in kind of hanging out backstage, and people were kind of breaking off into little groups, and the bands were kind of like claiming corners. It's a huge green room area.
Yeah.
So, everybody was just, there was a lot of broing down going on. And it was so nice seeing like some of the younger women were like kind of
they're making friends.
And they were all having a little discussion pod over in the corner. And, it's great to, there's just something about.
It really helped us lean into that value of community that we're really trying to lean into.
That is one of the big goals. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it really is getting that way where people, maybe they haven't seen each other, but when you do gigs with people, which these showcases are gigs, there is a level of, it's just like working together. There's a bond you get, even if I haven't seen you in a year. We did a show together a year ago. We kind of automatically have this cool, and I saw that with a lot of the performers were like, hadn't necessarily done a showcase in a while. And then they showed up and there were some people that, and they were like just instantly like hugging and like, oh my gosh. And then they were talking a mile a minute, and these people may not have seen each other in a year or two.
Yeah.
But they'd done showcases together before. So, such a cool community thing. And again, the venue, the hospitality was amazing. The lengths they went to make sure that we were comfortable and had, sodas and caffeinated things and waters and pizza and all this stuff. And they really did. When they put that sound system in there, they really did not skimp. They got the good stuff.
Oh.
They really, you could always spend more, but they didn't cheap out. Those monitors were great. The front of house was great. And shout out to Matt and Ian was the sound guy?
Matt Cottle, yeah. Ian, I don't remember Ian's last name, but he was really nice to work with.
Wonderful to work with.
And the show we put on is kind of challenging with everything changing constantly.
It's a lot of things because it is, counting the showcase band that I play with, Stax and Nate and Elwood. That's 4 bands? 5 bands?
4 bands.
4 bands. And then, of course, Alice did a song in between, a looping thing. Yeah, so it's a lot to set up and a lot to go through. I have to say, on the actual playing of the showcase side, I actually had kind of a rough night. And you pointed out I could have made more room for myself. I just didn't. There was a stair where the stairs were entering the stage. And we wanted people to have plenty of room to enter the stage because at the showcase, you're changing out singers every song, so you really need to have a good access. And the amount I need a little bit of room to move my feet is I always underestimate that.
You're a very dynamic performer.
I'm a very fidgety person in general.
Yeah. You'd like to pace
I
all
do
the time anyway.
Yeah, so having basically zero room to move my feet, and I've noticed I don't think about it at all, but I use different feet to hit the pedals depending on what else is going on with my body and what I'm playing. I might hit, depending on just where I'm at, I might hit my lead channel for solos with my right foot, or I might hit it with my left foot. But when I'm kind of boxed that way, I'm just stuck only using one foot because I just kind of can't.
Yeah. So that's your takeaway.
That's my
your
takeaway is
lesson
I
learned.
need to make sure I got a little pacing room.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be a ton, but it went great. I think all the songs went great.
Yeah.
The performers were, of course, great. The band killed it. I mean, we can call out some of the performers. I mean,
Yep.
gosh, Daniel Mendez, who we've talked about, he's taken our stage performance class, and he, man, if you look up fundamentals in the dictionary, there's a little YouTube video of Daniel from the other night. I mean, he just did everything perfect.
Yeah.
He just nailed all his spots and just exuded so much confidence. I don't know how he felt, but he looked, and gosh, who else?
Ash Einspar's intro for her song that she did the stage performance class as well.
Oh, that's right.
And we talked about her intro.
Right.
I think we described her intro in the last podcast. Do you remember if we
I
did?
don't remember if we did. We did work on it in the class with her.
Okay, so maybe
Yeah.
we didn't talk about it. Well, she was singing She Used to Be Mine from the musical Waitress, which is a song about a young mother, very young mother, who is finding her life changed by a very early pregnancy. She's too young for it, but
Right.
she has the baby. And Ashley says this, I took my mom to see Waitress, and we didn't know what it was really about.
Right.
And then I learned about this song. We heard this song together, and she said, and this song really hits home for me because my mom had me when she was in high school, and she's here tonight.
Right.
Oh my gosh! And then you said you saw people in the audience sobbing.
Openly weeping.
Yeah.
There were a lot of people dabbing their eyes, but there were a couple people that were just straight out, just streaming. And it was because, I mean, first off, her talking point
It was much better well done than I did just now.
right. It was great, and she nailed it, and it followed that little formula we talked about in class where, it's the big idea that is sort of universal and everybody understands some sort of emotion or some sort of life thing or whatever. You don't have to have been through it, but it's roughly universal. And then it's taking it down to what it means to you and then taking it to what it means right now. Mm-hmm. And that equals this emotional punch.
Yeah.
It's a weird equation that you don't have to do, but that never doesn't work. But she just killed it, and boy, people were in tears. The band was tearing up. It was just because she not only did the talking point perfectly and she did the equation perfectly. She then performed the song really well.
Yeah, that helps.
So which is so hard to be to get out there that put yourself out there that much emotionally and then reel it back in to deliver a really solid performance. And she just leveled that room. I mean, it was something else. Gosh, who else did great? Noe also, little Noe.
Yeah. Who was growing up quickly.
grown up quick. I don't know if she's 11 or 12 or whatever.
Little Noe with the big voice.
Yeah, yeah. There were a lot of phones out filming her. I'd say the same thing for, oh gosh, who did the Whitney Houston song?
Graceland Matlack.
Graceland.
And it was her first showcase with us. Who picks a Whitney Houston torch song like I Have Nothing for their very first performance? Graceland
Maybe
does.
one of the harder Whitney Houston songs, by the
Yeah.
way. I mean, there's
Yeah.
a lot of hits and punches, and the vocal performance is crazy.
And there's a key change, and the chorus is sort of like a key change from the verse.
It absolutely is. It goes major to minor.
Okay.
And then there's a modulation at the, like a keynote modulation at the end. And a complicated song. And she did absolutely great.
Yeah.
And people were really blown away.
Yeah.
Little Lily did great. I mean, gosh, I don't want to leave anybody out, but man,
Right, I mean, there are like 40 performers. We
there,
can't
there were
name
like 40
everybody.
performers. It was such a fun night and so great, and people were really great. I got to call out actually one person I really need to call out, and I actually need to text is Tyler Hall.
Oh, yeah.
Performance high teacher, and he teaches everything, of course, super knowledgeable, but he specifically teaches rock and metal screaming and, all those distorted vocals. And man, he showed up and just I was blown away.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's always so
it was
good.
some rock star stuff. And
Yeah.
yeah, so we had a fun night. I mean, boy, we covered the gamut once again on this showcase. We went all the way from modern metal to Whitney Houston ballads to acoustic songs, some old Bonnie Raitt. And
Yeah.
I mean, boy, you just wind up hitting every single,
Yeah, it's fun.
everything you can
It's
think
fun.
of. Yeah, they're super fun. Gosh, what else do we want to think about?
Well, I had a friend come in, friend/student, I don't know, a fellow music coach, vocal coach came in from Salt Lake City.
Oh, that's right. Sure, of course.
To work with both you and me. And he hung out at the rehearsal a little bit and then hung out for the entire showcase.
Yeah, which was great.
So Roger Cox from Salt Lake City, he's an International Voice Teachers of Mix teacher pursuing accreditation. He's been working with Terry Stock, who's one of the board members and one of the mentors. And I was so honored. He wants me to be his second mentor.
Yeah,
Because in IFTOM you have to have two mentors. You work mostly with one, and then to prevent any unfairness, you have to get approved by a second mentor. But we did some stage performance work yesterday, Saturday. And then you worked with him today a little
Right.
bit more on some identity and confidence and
Yeah, we covered some stage performance basic things. You reviewed what you did, and then I did my little spin that I put on top of that. And then we talked a lot about identity and branding, and we talked a lot about the value proposition, which I feel like is not a lot of bands and artists miss that idea of if I buy a ticket, what am I gonna get for my ticket?
yeah.
And the answer is not that the value I get for my ticket price is not hearing good singing.
Right.
There's so much more to it than that.
Yeah.
And a lot of artists miss that and just sort of don't have that defined. And that's a huge thing to define because, all the music that we all love, there's more to it than just
Yeah.
how it sounds or how excellently it's
Yeah,
performed
yeah.
or, Yeah, we'll talk way more
Yeah.
about that in our upcoming book.
So we'll move on from the showcase in a moment, but I wanted to joke a little bit about how Brian, I don't know what possessed Brian. Well, no, it was Nate.
It was Nate.
It was Nate who called me out
Yeah.
and was like, let's hear it for Adrian for pulling this whole thing together. And I was like, stop. Like, don't look at me. And it finally, because I wasn't on stage.
Right.
That's not, I don't deserve the spotlight because I'm not on stage. And it made me, but just the feeling of that, of stop, I shrunk and I was like, don't look at me, made me understand how Stax is when we call him out. What it feels like to him when we call him out and give him credit on stage.
Right.
Because he can't let it sit. He's just and here's Adrian,
He
you know,
can't-
and what about the rest of the band? Like, he can't let the spotlight stay on him, and I felt exactly like that in that moment. It was so hilarious.
We've talked about it on the podcast before. It is maybe my favorite thing in the world. How uncomfortable Brian is.
It just makes me want to call him out even more.
It absolutely does, and I'm always like big arming him. You know, I'm throwing it to him really hard because I love how much he doesn't like it, and he just can't stand it. So, you know, because in the tribute acts with the Petty Nicks thing, when he comes out to the front to sometimes you guys play and sing a song together on acoustic, and then of course every show we do Landslide, and Brian comes out. You know, and Adrian points out that he's the guy doing the keys and the guitar and the background vocals and all this stuff, and it's a big cheer, and he just can't stand it, and it's my favorite thing ever. But I love that you got
the feeling.
You got the feeling. It was so funny because we had that conversation. It's weird whatever. It's interesting how you and I are not performative people.
Yeah. What was it that triggered that conversation in
I
the car?
think we were talking about vanity license plates.
Yes, we were.
You know?
And we're like, what possesses people to have vanity license plates? And I just said something like, we don't get it because we're not performative people. That was where we came up with that conversation.
Yeah. We're both very like, no, don't look at me. I don't want to be the center of attention.
And then I was like, but wait, we're both performers.
Yeah. don't look at me. I don't want to get it. But hold that thought while I walk on this stage.
And then woo!
In front of 500 people. And then when I walk back here, I don't.
That's totally it.
Like, yeah, it's so funny. Like, it's a weird mix of feelings.
We've talked about this, how I think there are a lot of introverts who like to be on stage, or we've talked about it. I don't know on the podcast or not, but because you can define the conditions of your interaction with people when you are the one on stage.
That is absolutely what it is. And I bet, counterintuitive maybe, but I bet if you talk to an awful lot of actors, comedians, musicians, anybody who gets up and performs, that I bet is very common, if not in the majority, of like, I want to perform because that's an interaction. And we all, as humans, have needs for interaction. But that's an interaction I'm in charge of and I'm controlling.
Right. And I say when it's over, and I say how it's going to go, and the framework is mine, and it's not awkward because it's my rules.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm literally running the show.
Right.
And so that's
To the contrary, when you go to a cocktail party,
who knows? Yeah. Who knows how long you're going to be in some story or what, whatever your thing is. And, it's really interesting. I bet that, there are obviously pure natural born, extroverts that are just whatever, but an awful lot of performers, like part of your drive to perform is like, I
need people, but I don't want it to be like,
I want it. Yeah.
I want to fix the structure in which I
interact with people. Right. There is a defined structure to it.
And we know when it's over, and then I can go back in my green room and not talk to anybody.
We know when it starts and we know when it ends. Yeah, it's a funny thing. But gosh. So what were you thinking about Cody's stuff?
Just so he's we're talking about some songs for me to sing.
Oh, that's right. Because we're a little bit, Cody is a little bit looking at revamping some of how his show works.
Or developing a another brand of the Cody show.
That's a better way to say it. Yeah, it's not a revamp. It's a evolution.
Yeah, it might be kind of like a branch. So like he'll still have the shows he's doing now that we've been doing that have developed into a really cool 2-set
We've
ramp.
talked about that. They're great. Yeah.
Yeah. But he wants to start there's not a name for it yet, but the Cody Qualls dance band, something that's like more festival-y, more private party, more, just get out there, make people have fun. And I said to him, if it is advantageous for this project for me to sing, like just for there to be another front person, a female front person, I am happy to take some songs if you want.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And so I gave him a long list. He cut it down, and then I cut it down again by half. And so I've got maybe 7 songs that we're going to try eventually. Most of which, if not all of which, I will play bass on as well.
Okay.
which is, I know that I did that for a couple years with you.
You sure did,
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
But it is hard. We were talking about it last night. That is the hardest singing and playing an instrument is.
Yeah. I find it harder to sing backup and play bass than to sing lead and play bass.
That oddly makes sense to me. Yeah.
Because harmonies take a little bit of thought.
And bass is so root note. And
Yes.
then you're like,
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
you're trying to do not the same thing at
Yeah.
all.
Try to do not the root and not the melody.
Right.
So it's like, whoa, where does my voice belong? So
Yeah.
that's an exciting new thing to work on.
I think in the right context, like you said, Cody has such a great theater type show with the 2 sets. But for the party thing, man, that 1-2 punch of having another lead singer jump
Yeah.
in, and it just, like we've talked about a million times, the special guest, it always amps up a crowd. They love
I
it.
get to be the special guest again. Keep finding myself in this position.
I said it.
How lucky.
I hate to keep saying it, but it never doesn't work. Like, hey, I'm now this person, and everybody's like, yeah.
Oh, yay, something different.
Yeah. But I think it's gonna, it could really electrify. And then, you've got 2 powerhouse singers in the group.
Right.
You might as well occasionally take use of it.
That's kind of what I was thinking. Like, I'm there anyway. So,
And not that Cody can't cover stuff because, oh
Mm-hmm.
my gosh, I was just working more on some of his classical stuff that we recorded however long ago. And, man, what a voice.
Yeah.
But, the Cody Qualls dance party, that's coming.
yeah.
Yeah, we're going to figure it out. I am actually pitching and trying to push for Cody Qualls dance party.
I
don't
think
know
that's
why.
a great name.
I think for him, it
Yeah.
totally is. And he already does those Fam Jam dance
Yeah,
parties,
yeah.
and he has those things, and So how we doing on time?
I think it's feeling like time to wrap.
Yeah, let's wrap.
So let's look ahead, huh?
Yeah,
I've got a busy weekend coming up because we are playing at the Rialto Theater in Loveland. We are, the Petty Nicks Experience. As far as I know, it has been sold out except for like 2 individual orphan seats for weeks, if not months.
I think
You-
I that is for all intents and purposes sold out.
Yeah.
and has been for a while. A lot of benefit to only going somewhere once a year.
Yeah, sure. That certainly helps.
Which is great, though. I mean, we are so lucky. I mean, that's 500 seats. It's killer.
Yeah.
And
And then, so we come back down from Loveland, and I have a very early church gig the next morning.
you sure do.
Yeah, in Parker. So
Yeah.
I'm going to cover some ground that night.
Yeah. Note, maybe we'll edit this out. We should make sure to offer that Brian could stay here if he wants to on the
Oh.
Rialto thing, because he's got to go all the way back to the Springs.
Yeah,
Maybe we'll cut that,
Okay.
but I just didn't want
Yeah.
to forget.
yeah.
Yeah, so you've got the church gig, and
Mm-hmm.
then the Journey Band.
Yeah, I would love to try to go see them if we have the energy on Friday night. They're going to be at the Wild Goose Saloon. So that's the band that I coached. Primarily, we coached blocking was the main thing.
Right.
They're a great band. The lead singer sounds just right. The whole band, super nice people. I really loved working with them. And they took the concepts and ran with them. But this is the first show that I have even a possibility of going to see where we aren't both playing the same night. And they wanted me to come to a show whenever possible to give them some feedback about how are they doing with the things I taught them and what else could they improve.
With implementing, yeah.
Yeah, so I want to try to make it out.
Yeah, we'll try to make it, what was my joke the other day? It's not only that Parker's far away, but then when you get there, you're in Parker.
Sorry, Parker.
Sorry, Parker. Yeah, lovely people. Not my favorite place in the world. But anyway, yeah, that's pretty much it. I've just got tons of mixing. I've counted up today, and I am finalizing. I'm in the end stages of finalizing 5 albums worth of stuff.
Oh my gosh.
We don't have to go through what all those are, but I'm sort of bouncing back and forth between 5 albums worth of stuff right now, finishing up,
Wow.
and sort of, knocking them down one by one. Unfortunately, in a bit of a position where I'm sort of, some of it too is you have to get feedback.
Yeah.
So it's like I can't. It's what I'm having to do, or what is working the best right now, is finishing up a song, sending it to groups for feedback, jumping over and working on another song for another project, sending that out for feedback, and then by the time I've done that, I've gotten the feedback
Yeah.
back from the first thing, and then I'm doing a revision, and then so I'm doing that kind of hopscotch.
It's like you're keeping 5 plates spinning at once.
It is a little bit. It is a little bit. But,
I'm glad those will wrap up soon.
yeah, they're going to wrap up soon. And it's really funny. I noticed how much in mix mode I am, because I do sort of like lock into different parts of my brain. And like, man, when I'm in mix mode, I can just be like bowled over speechless by just the audio qualities of something. I was working with Roger Cox today, and we were working on some, he was doing that song Mountain Music by the band Alabama. And, oh my gosh, that record sounds so good. And I was just like, I like had to shake it off for a second, because I was like, oh my gosh, is everything just placed so perfectly in that? Like, and I was like, I just like the stage stuff went right out of my head, and I was like, oh my gosh.
And then he finished the song and you're like, wait, do that again.
Do that again, because I was just thinking about how well the guitars were placed and versus the drums, and well, let's close her down. We are sponsored this week by quite literally by Roots Music Project in Boulder.
Roots Music Project. Check 'em out.
They really helped us out a ton.
Yeah.
And treated us so well. So if you get a chance to go there, absolutely recommend it. You're going to have a good time. And we are sponsored, as always, by Performance High.
Voice and Music Studio.
And thank you guys for watching and listening and doing all the things you do. And gosh, we'll see you next week.
We'll see you next week.